perfect conditions. It's warming up here, and don't forget the sunscreen and hydrate, please.
And, you know, we've got 2 Indy Lights races this weekend.
Yep.
So we got one on Saturday
Both,
at 12:45.
Both point scoring, yeah.
Yeah, both point scoring. So essentially just 2 races on the weekend. And then on Sunday, race 2 is at 9:10. So a chance to rack up some points right here at COTA.
I'll tell you what, I would have thought it gets pretty hot. You've got a really hot engine behind you. You've got the bodywork heating up, and then you're packed in with a fire suit on, a helmet on. And, yeah, I would have thought you like to get the breeze in you going up that hill quickly. There's usually a good, strong easterly breeze going up that hill. And as we start to see the cars going out on track, I think it's time now to hand over to the IndyCar Radio Network as they pick up the action for this next Indy Lights session.
Outside of Austin, Texas, Circuit of the Americas at this impressive, massive 3.41-mile road course, 20 turns, 12 to the left, 8 to the right. It is just an immaculate facility, and we are set to go qualifying for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. One practice session in the books already today for those drivers. It was Oliver Askew who was the quickest of the 10. The BN Racing drivers of Toby Sowery and David Malukas were also very quick. But as we welcome in our pit reporters for this qualifying session, as the drivers head out for the first laps of this 30-minute qualifying session, Rob Howden, I know we were a little surprised by the lack of speed from Belardi Auto Racing, and you have more on why those drivers weren't nearly as high as we thought before the practice started.
Well, Nick, you and I talked about the fact that they think that tire wear is actually going to be more of a significant storyline here for Indy Lights than it normally is. This track, as we know, 20 turns, very hard on the cars themselves, a lot of it, sustained at G's. So tire wear could be interesting, and that's not surprising that we now hear that there's potential strategy going on down here on pit lane. Of course, Zachary Clayman, who was a winner at St. Petersburg with, I believe, 7th in the order this morning, finding out that they decided not to go to new tires at all. Majority of the teams actually did put fresh rubber on at the end of that session to get a feel for the car, but none of the drivers for Belardi Auto Racing. Of course, we know that Julian Falchero had that issue early. He was out, but nothing as well for Lucas Cole. He stayed on the tires that they carried over from St. Petersburg. The concept, of course, then for Belardi is to see if they could maybe hold on to a couple of fresh sets for both main events here this weekend.
And Ryan Marine, you have more on Julian Falchero, who had those issues this morning in practice.
Yes, indeed, Nick. Thank you very much. It was unfortunately not a very clean session for the French rookie. Only turned a couple of laps, and he told me that he had problems from the word go. That seemed like the turbo never quite kicked in. He brought that car to pit lane early in the session and had to hop out of it pretty quick because there were some flames coming out of the exhaust pipes of his Belardi Auto Racing car. That set him out for the rest of practice, and it looks like he is not going to be taking part in qualifying either. We'll try and get that confirmed from the team, but the car was not out here on pit lane when the qualifying session began. I got a report about an hour ago that the engine was out of that car and it had pretty much been disassembled as they were trying to diagnose what the problem might be. And that's a big hit for the rookie, who doesn't have a ton of track time in these cars whatsoever, and here at COTA, of course, as well. He's really trying to get himself a bit more comfortable and really close the St. Pete weekend quite strong. Finished 5th in race number 2, trying to build off of that momentum, but it's not going to be easy to do when you only get to turn a couple of laps in practice and maybe not even qualify for race number 1.
Yep, quite an uphill battle for Julian Falchero, who, as Ryan talked about, looks like he will start 10th in tomorrow's race, not answering the bell for qualifying. And just got word that we have had a red flag here. Sounds like turn 16 we have had a driver go off course, unable to identify. Now we're getting a good look. That is one of the Belardi Auto Racing cars. And I believe that is Zachary Clayman, who has come to a stop. Excuse me, that's in turn 13. So Dave First, who joins us, rough start to the qualifying session. As Ryan just talked about, Julian Falchero, one driver from Belardi Auto Racing, not going to answer the bell. And looks like Brian's second of 3 cars has got some issues there with Clayman DeMello stopped on the track.
If you're Lucas Cole, you're looking around for some other red cars and realizing, wait a minute, I'm the only one out here. So rough go to start things off for Belardi Auto Racing. But I've already had one practice session underway, but that's it, though. You got one practice this morning. We got qualifying. You got another qualifying session tomorrow. Then we go racing after that. I mean, it begs the question, just how big was that test session they had here back in February? I mean, everything they learned there may or may not, be able to pay dividends here this weekend.
Ryan Marine, you're monitoring that situation. Going to follow up when we find out more on what might have happened to Zachary Clayman as the AMR IndyCar safety team is there and going to put the strap on that car to bring him back to pit lane. So that red flags his qualifying session. This is a 30-minute qualifying session. These drivers will be allowed to turn as many laps as they can get under green flag. Driver with the fastest lap will start on the pole for Saturday's race number 1. This is another doubleheader weekend for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. They'll race again tomorrow at 1:35 Eastern Time, 12:35 local time here in Austin, and then again on Sunday, bright and early at 10 Eastern, 9 Central Time for these drivers. So, Dave, you know, this schedule, we've kind of been used to this the last couple years. Anderson Promotions has kind of implemented this. Just one practice session, but lots of on-track activity and competition. And I think if you're a race fan that comes out to the racetrack or someone that tunes in, it's a lot more fun to hear these guys going for pole positions or 2 race wins rather than just turning lap after lap during practice sessions.
I think if you're on site, this is what you want to see. You want to see some racing. Let's go after it. And we were talking earlier, that's how big that test session was that the Indy Lights had here at COTA, which was led by Oliver Askew. So whatever they learned there should pay some dividends here, because the conditions, if I'm not mistaken, are pretty much the same as they were then up until now.
So the Canadian points leader, Zachary Clayman, being towed back to pit lane. For more on those conditions, let's welcome back Rob Howden.
Thanks, Nick. A light scuff, of course, on the tires. Everybody essentially rolling out with fresh Cooper slicks to get out here to begin this qualifying 1 session. Again, temperatures a little bit higher than they were earlier today, but not much. And we did arrive in jackets this morning. It was about 45 to 50 degrees this morning, but right now 76-degree ambient temperature, anywhere between 95 and 101 degrees around the racetrack. The front straightaway about 95, back corner turn 11 about 98. So the temperatures continue to come up here, more like what we're going to see here this weekend, because I believe the forecast is saying we're going to be seeing probably 80 degrees on both Saturday and Sunday. So a war weekend for sure. But again, as Zachary Clayman brings the number 13 in here, drivers really just getting kind of 1 lap in. So those fresh tires, just a little bit of a scuff before we get back out and get back to qualifying.
You know what's amazing in all of this is that just moments ago, Rob went around and then physically took the temperature of every corner here at Circuit of the Americas. So that's amazing.
Well,
you know, that's commitment, don't you think?
Well, 6 of us from the radio network just spent an hour and a half, it seemed like, on a golf cart trying to figure out where we're going to be positioned for the races this weekend.
But that was fun, though, getting around this road course. You find out how big this facility is.
This is my first time here, and I'm blown away. I mean, this is a massive facility as the green flag is back out for this qualifying session for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Lots of unique corners, lots of cool vantage points for race fans, and just, I mean, a grade A racetrack. You're not going to find a much nicer than this, not only in the United States, but all around the world. It's an impressive facility, and I think we're already having a pretty good weekend.
A natural terrain facility, very European-like. I mean, there are some areas that kind of remind you of Silverstone, areas that remind you of Hockenheim a little bit, and this is very much a world-class facility, and I think it's great that the NTT IndyCar Series, let alone Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires, we are here this week, and I think it's phenomenal.
As we mentioned, the green flag back out for this qualifying session, seeing a handful of these drivers navigate the S's of turns 3, 4, and 5. That's one of those rhythm sections. There's another one of them from turns 12 to 19. But what I really like, Dave, is we get to showcase the speeds of these cars along with the NTT IndyCar machines on these 2 massive straightaways. The front stretch, 2,869 feet in length, and then the back stretch where you can really let those engines roar, nearly 4,000 feet. That back straightaway, good opportunity for these drivers, not just in Indy Lights, but in IndyCar, to mix it up and try to entertain some passing opportunities down towards turn 12, and then ultimately the incredible one up the hill into turn 1.
And you personally measured that, too.
I've got a media guide here.
What am I doing here, for crying out loud? You guys are working hard. Rob's out taking temperatures. You're measuring the track.
You and I did walk pit lane this morning, and I'll tell you one feature that I think we both agreed was pretty cool, especially for the race fans that are going to be coming out, is the IndyCar drivers' names right by their pit boxes. What a cool feature that is.
Yeah, you don't see that anywhere else. Maybe you will after this, because I think it's a phenomenal idea. The grandstands located up and down pit road You got a great vantage point of all the pit stalls, but in front of the pit stalls, in bright blue, bold lettering, is the name of each driver, which will be a part of that pit stall. So if you got a fan, if you're a Rossi fan, if you're a Dixon fan, all you got to do is look up and down pit road and just see their names right there in bold blue colors. I think it's wonderful.
Our Indy Lights points leader is out of his race car and standing by with Ryan Marine on pit lane.
Now let's check in with Zachary Clayman. I'm sure you'd like to be out there with the rest of these guys. What happened when the car came to a stop?
We're not exactly sure yet. It's an unfortunate problem that is going to keep us out of the session, but these things happen, and I don't think it's going to hurt my championship run. I'm going to go to the front in race 1, and I've been in this position before, so it's not a big deal for me.
Your teammate Julian had a problem in practice. Is there any chance this could be related?
It could be. I mean, it's hard to tell at the moment, but I really don't care about what happened now. Only thing that matters is the race, and I'm still going to go for the win as always.
How about this track? Ample opportunities to make your passes, to make a charge from the rear around here?
Yeah, we've struggled with speed so far, but racing's my strong suit, and racing's Belardi's strong suits. I mean, I showed it in IndyCar, and I've showed it in Indy Lights before, so I'm not afraid to be starting where we're starting, and it's going to be a fun race.
Sounds like it. Hey, sorry to see you out of the race car. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Going to be a fun one to watch, Dave. If you're a race fan who likes their drivers not lacking the confidence, Zachary Clayman might be your guy. And you know what? He had some impressive runs last year in IndyCar, driving for Dale Coyne Racing, and certainly got off on the right track in St. Petersburg, winning race number 1 and second in race number 2. The nice thing for him is that this is a smaller field, just 10 cars in Indy Lights. So even if he's starting in row 5, like it looks like he might be with his teammate Julian Falchero, I have a lot of confidence that Mr. Clayman's going to try to put that car to the front, or at least give it one heck of a shot to drive it up there.
It kind of reminds you of some of the old-time short tracks on the weekends, maybe, where they invert the field a little bit. That's exactly what we've got here. A Clayman who obviously has already won a race so far and finished second. It was a 1-2 finish at St. Petersburg a couple of weeks ago, but a guy that's going to be up front all weekend long. It's going to be interesting to see how he can move up through the field come tomorrow afternoon.
7 minutes into this qualifying session, still waiting to see a really true lap at speed. Again, if you're just joining us, we had a red flag that stopped the session for Zachary Clayman. Now we just got word that the 21 machine of Renus VK has gone off track. So Rob Howden, kind of an interesting start. Ryan Norman, the fastest of the 10 drivers, but again, that lap is at 1:58, and we saw laps a lot faster than that this morning during practice.
Yeah, still a long way to go before we find out what we're going to get for a pole time, Nick. But I think the biggest issue here, maybe the way the things kind of fall down here for the Belardi Auto Racing is, remember, with Julian Falcaro out of this session, he has not turned, two laps in the first session, so he's not going to get any real at-speed laps. He's never been here before. He'll go into the race having not been on this racetrack, unless he gets out for qualifying too, of course. Actually, they potentially are bringing a car down here right now. Ryan Marine and I getting set to move up to the side. But anyways, where I was staying here was the fact that Zachary Clayman de Mello, I think, guys, was going to be the driver that they were going to have go out there and set the data. He was going to turn the lap times. He was going to take a run at pole, whatever it may be. He's the one that was going to lay down all that chassis work, that data work. Right now, it's in the hands of the rookie driver, Lucas Cole. He jumped over the Indy Pro 2000 series. He was a 3-year driver in USF 2000. This is only his second race weekend here in Indy Lights. And Lucas Cole, who's on a definite 2-year program working with Roberto Moreno, man, it's going to be tough for these guys to find the data they need. They're going to essentially be almost 2 full sessions behind before they get out to go racing.
Yeah, that's quite a job for young Lucas Cole, Dave First. I mean, a young man, as Rob talked about, spent 3 years in USF 2000 in 44 starts. Was knocking on the door, but never quite found his way to victory lane. And now we come to a brand new racetrack, and he's tasked with, hey, you're going to have to gather the data and fine-tune those setups for these race cars, as that team is behind the 8 ball and struggling with both Clayman and Falchero now on the sideline. Wasn't
it a couple of weeks ago we heard from Brian Belardi, and all he talked about, along with John Bruner, is that we're going to ease this kid into it. We're going to let him relax, get comfortable. Maybe not so much here all of a sudden on a Friday at beautiful Circuit of the Americas. So going to be up to him, kid. Get out there and see what you can do.
As for the speed charts, Oliver Askew has jumped to P1 at 1:57 flat. Ryan Norman His teammate runs second. Rob McGinnis is third. So Andretti Autosport, Rob Howden, 1, 2, 3 as we are nearing the halfway point of qualifying.
Yeah, they're definitely getting the job out front. But as I said during my quick little bit there, Ryan Marine and I had to get out of the way, guys, because the pit cart of Julian Falchero actually came out down here onto pit lane. We were kind of standing in his empty stall. Falchero's actually taken to the racetrack. They were able to get the engine changed between the two sessions. Falchero, the Frenchman, back on track.
That's awesome to hear. So some great work by the Belardi Auto Racing Group to get that car and the engine changed out and make the repairs.
That was done in like 10 minutes.
I know, that's impressive.
Well,
that. The practice was this morning for Falchero. He had the issues.
Well, so yeah, but still, though, I mean, that's
pretty remarkable.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great job by those Belardi guys to get that car on the racetrack so Falchero can at least turn some laps here during qualifying. Still plenty of time, 15 minutes to go in this qualifying session. This is, again, rounds 3 and 4 of the Indy Lights Championship presented by Cooper Tires. It was Zach Klayman that took the win in race number 1, and then Rinus VeeKay, Dave, in race number 2, avoided the incident. I say he got the better of the incident with Oliver Askew on the opening lap, and then kind of smooth sailing. Did have to hold off a strong challenge from Zach Klayman in the closing laps, but that's another young man, Rinus VeeKay from Holland, that I think a lot of people got their eyes on, the reigning Indy Pro 2000 champion.
The funny thing is we were expecting a big rivalry, and we have that, of course, throughout the course of the season between VeeKay and Oliver Askew, and it just didn't materialize in race number 2 because of the contact that was made on that first restart that we had. So buckle in, because I think the rest of the season it is going to be back and forth. Askew and Rinus VeeKay with a little bit of Zach Klayman thrown in the middle of all that.
Rob Howden, not all Friday mornings are created equal, and the guy that can probably tell you that is Brian Belardi. Boy, it's been an interesting morning for that group.
Nick, way more work than any team ever wants to do on a Friday. Brian, obviously an issue with the engine. You guys had to swap the motor out for Julian Falchero. Says a lot, I think, for the crew of Belardi Auto Racing for them to be able to get that changed and have him back out here for qualifying.
Yeah, the team, they did an excellent job. I mean, they put in a lot of hard work, and he's back out there. And in the process, we had another issue, but I don't really want to talk about that right now.
I know that in the first session, you guys kind of sat back. You didn't use any fresh tires. You were holding on to it. Well, you're definitely going to be okay right now with Zachary Klayman. He's not able to get on track. You're going to have a lot of tires for qualifying in a couple of races.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the weather, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, tires definitely aren't going to be an issue.
Overall, with the team, with Tim and Kent Boyer, are they happy with where they are in terms of the setup program?
Yeah, we know we have a good car. We were kind of holding back a little bit with some pretty old tires this morning, so it's unfortunate. Hopefully Julian gets up there and Lucas as well.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Nick Yeoman, I'm telling you, Brian Belardi, you know how competitive this guy here is. They were rolling the dice a bit, holding off on the morning session. Going to use those tires here in both qualifying runs to try to have sticker tires for both races. That's going to be a no-brainer right now for Zachary Klayman. He'll have 2 fresh sets of tires just for qualifying 2, and then fresh tires for both of the races this weekend.
Yeah, certainly an advantage. Doesn't help him much right now, Dave, first, as Zach Klayman sits on the sidelines watching the rest of this qualifying session as he's going to start in row number 5. But the advantage of the Cooper tires, fresh Cooper tires, we've seen it throughout the years. That can really make a difference. And the more data you can gather during those qualifying sessions to run 2 sets, that could be the difference in between him, grabbing a pole position and not tomorrow morning.
Speaking of which, we're just past the halfway point of this qualifying session. What do we see usually about the halfway point?
Yep.
Time to come on in and throw on a fresh set of Cooper tires.
Let's go back to pit lane. Got a couple updates. We'll start with Ryan Marine. You can see some drivers already opting for fresh tires.
Yeah, the call to pit lane has definitely happened. Dalton Kellett just went out on stickers 4 or 5 minutes ago, and just now they sent Rinus VeeKay, did this Juncos Racing team, out on stickers as well. He certainly is going to be a threat for the pole. Looks like a little bit further down pit lane, the Andretti Autosport contingent, they're all in. They're making the change as well. So I think we're about to see what these teams have. Everyone's going out on the sticker tires here in just a couple of moments.
Rob Howden, did you have more on the pit stops that we're seeing early on here?
Yeah, I'll start with the fact that Julian Falchero, the Belardi Auto Racing drivers, brought that machine in, the number 4. They've changed an engine, so of course they're going to bring him into pit lane, do kind of the installation lap, right? Take the rear cowling off, look over, make sure everything's good. At this point, Julian's still in the car, and indeed, yes, he will get ready to go back on track. And also, kind of the remainder of the drivers making the move to the fresh Cooper stickers. It's the two drivers from BN Racing. Of course, the BN Racing number 79 for David Malukas and the number 2 for Toby Sowery. That collaboration between BN Racing and Team Pelfrey, of course, with that brilliant yellow for Team Pelfrey, the Gap Guard sponsorship on the side of the car. Those drivers getting set to go. Currently 5th and 6th in the timing order.
Dave, Toby Sowery is a guy that, I don't think a lot of us knew a whole lot about him heading into the start of the season, and it's still unclear of how much we'll see of him throughout the course of this season as he has some other commitments. This is kind of a weekend-to-weekend deal as of right now, but I thought he was awful impressive, along with his teammate David Malukas, for BN Racing to jump to the Indy Lights Series and be as competitive as they were. Toby Sowery with a pair of podium finishes leaving St. Pete.
It was a second and a third a couple of weeks ago at St. Petersburg. He's done a young man, just 22 years old, a couple of races in Pro 2000, a couple of races in USF 2000 a year before that. But more importantly, if you're out on the race course, you're watching these cars go around, he's got that bright yellow Pelfrey car, which you can spot pretty easily in that field of 10 as they move around this race course.
Yeah, it's a nice advantage for all of us out on the course throughout the course of the weekend, and then certainly for the race fans here to spot that yellow car as it turns laps around this massive 3.41 mile road course here in Austin, Texas. It is Oliver Askew who is at the top of the charts at 1:56.358. We see his teammate Ryan Norman leaving pit lane with a fresh set of Cooper tires. He's currently 4th quick. Robert McGinnis is the other Andretti Autosport driver, having a nice qualifying session so far as well, as he sits 2nd. The one driver that has kind of broken up the Andretti party is Rinus VK, the driver for Juncos Racing that scored the victory in race number 2 at St. Petersburg. Then it's David Malukas, who is 5th fastest, as McGinnis will leave pit lane as well, pretty much clearing pit lane of the 9 drivers that still have cars under power. But Malukas is 5th, Sowery is 6th, Dalton Kellett is 7th, Lucas Cole is 8th, Julian Falchero is 9th. Still waiting for Falchero to turn a lap at speed as that engine change kind of put that team chasing after getting that car to the racetrack. So it'll be interesting to see what Falchero can find in these final 9 minutes. But, Dave, this is a massive racetrack. These drivers are turning laps at just under 2 minutes. So as they now leave pit lane with fresh Cooper tires, you got to get those tires up to heated up and up to speed quickly, because you're really only looking at maybe 3 or 4 laps.
If that. I mean, you go back a couple weeks ago when we were at St. Pete, shorter track, so you could do a few more laps before those tires really came into line. Where here you're only going to have maybe 2 or 3 laps before those temps get up to prime position. So it's going to be interesting, as you mentioned. 8.5 minutes remaining. Oliver Askew leads the way. Robert McGinnis, Rinus VK. Tire temperatures are coming up. It's almost go time here for pole position in race number 1.
This is the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network. My name's Nick Yeoman. That is Dave First, the other voice you hear live from Austin, Texas. Rob Howden and Ryan Marine patrolling pit lane as we are starting to to set the grid for race number 1 with just 8 minutes to go for the 3rd race of the season. This is an impressive championship, Dave. These drivers are going to race 17 times this season. They will end the season at Laguna Seca, started the year in St. Petersburg. I mean, the different types of tracks that they get to compete on, Mid-Ohio to Toronto, the small oval of Gateway, and then certainly the big one at the oval of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Freedom 100. Time and time again, the different types of racetracks, and then certainly these race cars have prepped drivers fully to get to the IndyCar Series and find success.
It's funny. We spend the majority of this series on the road and street courses, but then you get to the oval at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, known as the Freedom 100. That's Carb Day before the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500 this year, and it's kind of a roll of the dice. I mean, someone that maybe has struggled through the course of the season up until then can have a huge afternoon at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I mean, the racing there is unlike any other. It was 4 wide. Was it 4 years ago now? And so the racing there is just phenomenal. And if you had a rough go up until then, chances are your fortunes can change at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Watching a trio of race cars make their way around turns 16, 17, 18, and 19, kind of swooping portions of the racetrack. That was David Malukas along with Oliver Askew. And and Renus VK were right there as they are approaching the front straightaway once again. But Rob Howden, you've been watching a pair of the Belardi cars on pit lane as they've made some pit stops.
Yeah, about 6.5 minutes remaining here this qualifying run, Nick, and it's Lucas Cole currently running in that 8th position. He's been able to work the car in here. They're going to put the fresh tires on here for Lucas again, young driver who jumped up from USF 2000 last year here to a program with Belardi in 2019. The Brazilian with the sticker tires on, the Coopers. He'll roll out here right now. So, again, about 6 minutes remaining for Lucas Cole. Julian Falchero came in as well. Just a quick stop, minor adjustment for Julian. He's back on track. He does have fresh Coopers waiting for him here right now, but I don't think he's going to have enough time to be able to get back in and potentially make a change.
It's going to be awful tight, Dave, for anyone that wants to make a last-second pit stop, because you enter pit lane, you're going to throw away a full lap, and we are running out of sand in the hourglass. Just under 6 minutes to go, and everyone's still chasing Oliver Askew.
I thought it was late for Cole to throw on sticker tires like that, because I don't know that he'll have enough time out there or be able to turn enough laps to get those tire temps up to where you want them. So keep an eye on that bright red Lucas Cole machine for Belardi Auto Racing.
Just saw Toby Sowery make the left-hander out of turn number 12 after that long 4,000-foot backstretch. He's being chased by one of the Belardi cars. That is Julian Falchero around turns 13 and 14, a couple left-handers. Then you've got a pair of cars that I've kind of been watching on the racetrack, Oliver Askew, and then about 5 or 6 car lengths behind, you see the 21 of Renus VK, and Sowery has found some speed, Dave, first, as he goes P1 at a minute 56.269. That timing line just shy of coming out of the final corner and getting back on the front straightaway. So going to be interesting to see these drivers now at full song as we continue to see the timing and scoring chart start to jumble up.
So safe to say tire temps are at optimum, optimum temperature right now. Oliver Askew now surpassing Toby Sowery at a minute 55. So he's the first driver at sub-minute 56, and that's only going to be a matter of time before someone else betters that. So hang on here. 4.5 minutes remain here at Circuit of the Americas.
And again, the interesting thing is a lot of these drivers kind of grouped on the racetrack as Askew makes the climb back down the hill out of turn number 1. Renus VK giving chase about 10 to 12 car lengths behind. And then I believe it was David Malukas who is not too far out of the frame. And just fun, Dave, to watch those drivers snake through the S's here. Turns 3, 4, 5, and 6. The red, white, and blue painting to the curbing on either side. It's just a spectacular part of the racetrack, and one that I think you got to get right, because you can throw a lot of time away through that real precision type part of the racetrack through the S's.
How big is this track?
Just
3.4?
3.41 miles.
That's long. That's a long way to go for one lap. And so you've got to be able to put it all together for a good 2 minutes without one mistake. Good luck. I mean, even the guys in the IndyCar series are talking about that exact same thing earlier when they came off the track in their first practice session, led, of course, by Joseph Newgarden. I mean, you mess up a little bit somewhere, you can really mess up a lot, and a couple tenths here or there can be the difference, certainly in the IndyCar series, or let alone the Indy Lights series presented by Cooper Tires.
Yep, 2 pole awards given out already this season. The first one was to Zachary Clayman, who scored the pole position for race 1 at St. Petersburg, and he obviously went on to win the first race of the season. And then in the second race, it was Oliver Askew who won the pole position. Got involved in an incident, but Renus VK was the driver who started on the outside of the front row and went on to score that victory. So Askew looking to put that car back on the front row, and certainly needs a change of fortunes, Dave, as he comes into this weekend 5th in points.
Just bested his previous time. He's now at a minute 55.5, so a couple of hundredths better that last time by. And at 2 minutes or so remaining, he's going to be able to do this lap and perhaps get one more. So 2 more laps perhaps for Oliver Askew, the same for the rest of the field. As you mentioned, that's sand certainly running out of the hourglass here during this qualifying session, Nick.
Yep, everybody really pounding the pavement here in qualifying. Oliver Askew stakes his way through the S's. Then comes Renus VK. David Malukas is the third driver to make his way out of turn number 6, as these drivers are certainly pushing these race cars with under 2 minutes to go. We see Dalton Kellett and Toby Sowery making their way down that long back straightaway. It's Oliver Askew at P1, then Ryan Norman. Robert McGinnis is third, so it's an Andretti Autosport sweep of the top 3 spots here in the final minutes of qualifying. Toby Sowery is fourth, Renus VK is fifth, David Malukas is sixth fastest. Then it is Julian Falchero, Lucas Cole, and Dalton Kellett, who is ninth. Zachary Clayman, the only driver that has not turned a lap in this session with what is an apparent engine issue for our points leaders car for Belardi Auto Racing. So this is pretty interesting, Dave. What a start to the weekend this would be for Andretti Autosport if they can sweep the top 3 spots. We know all 3 of their drivers are very talented. 2 of those are rookies in McGinnis and Askew. And Norman is another one of these drivers looking for a bounce-back weekend.
Yeah, I mean, how about the job Ryan Norman has done during this qualifying session? Here's a guy who started 7th in both races a couple of weeks ago at St. Petersburg. Big jump. Obviously, he's feeling very comfortable in the Andretti Autosport machine here.
Under 60 seconds to go here at Circuit of the Americas. We see Julian Falchero back out of the front straightaway. He was not able to improve his lap 7th quick. David Malukas has found a little speed, though, as he turns his best lap of this qualifying session at a minute 56.396. It moves him up into the 5th position, right behind his teammate Toby Sowery and ahead of Renus VK. VK was the loser there as he dipped down to the 6th position. So right now it's Andretti Autosport 1, 2, 3. Then the BN Racing teammates 4th and 5th with Sowery and Malukas. VK sits in 6th. Lucas Cole just turned his best lap of the qualifying session to move into 7th. Falchero is 8th. Dalton Kellett is 9th. And then again, Zachary Clayman DeMello is 10th quick. And, you know, Dave, the interesting thing is the checkered flag comes out and all these drivers get to turn one more lap. Top 6 separated by less than 1 second as we see Robert McGinnis find a little speed. He moves to 2nd, and then Ryan Norman bumps him right back. So Norman sits in 2nd. McGinnis is 3rd. Renus VK is already to pit lane as we wait for these final drivers to complete their laps.
And Lucas Cole jumped up that last time by as well. So the young man from Brazil now 7th quick in that Belardi Auto Racing machine. We'll see if he can move up a spot. Right now, Renus VK, Robert McGinnis, both of those cars back on pit road.
Yep, still 7 drivers to come across the start-finish line to end their qualifying sessions here at COTA, this massive, massive racetrack. We see Dalton Kellett drive across the timing line. He will do no better than 9th. Here comes Toby Sowery flying across the timing line. Looks like he is positioned no better than 4th. Further back, we see one of the other Belardi cars. That's Julian Falchero. As he comes across the timing line, it does not appear like he will improve either as he sits in 8th. Oliver Askew flies across the timing line, followed by what looks like Ryan Norman. Not seeing a lot of change here, Dave. That was Malukas that crossed the timing line. Norman's the last one we're waiting on, along with Lucas Cole. But here in the last few seconds, not a lot of change. Now we see Cole across the timing line and Norman chasing after him as those 2 drivers wait to see where they will end up here in qualifying. Can anyone knock off Oliver Askew?
It's almost as if Askew knew that he's pretty much protected right now to win pole, because the last time by, as he crossed the timing and scoring, he's some 3 seconds off the pace. So probably knew, as everyone now has crossed the timing and scoring line. Guess who? Oliver Askew does it again.
Yeah, we saw Ryan Norman really hustling that number 48 machine for Andretti Autosport out of the final couple corners to get across the timing and scoring line. It was not enough, and it's Oliver Askew who scores the pole position here in Indy Lights, presented by Cooper Tires, and it was an impressive lap at a minute 55.545. That's now nearly a half a second clear of the entire field. So Askew has been awful quick this weekend and going to be the favorite to win race number 1 from the pole position. His teammate Ryan Norman comes home in 2nd. Robert McGinnis is 3rd, so it goes Andretti Autosport 1, 2, 3. Toby Sowery ends up in the 4th spot. David Malukas is 5th as the BN Racing team have a strong qualifying effort as they'll make up the outside of row number 2 and the inside of row number 3. Renus VK, the winner of race number 2 at St. Petersburg, he's got his work cut out for him as the Indy Pro 2000 champion is going to start on the outside of row number 3. And you find the Belardi Auto Racing drivers, Lucas Cole, Julian Falchero, they'll make up row number 4. Dalton Kellett will start in 9th at the inside of row number 5. And then Zachary Clayman may be the one to watch, as he is not able to turn a lap during this qualifying session and comes home in the 10th position here in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. As we wait to hear from a few of the drivers, a few of the players here in this qualifying session, I want to remind you that the IndyCar practice session number 2 coming your way here in just a little bit, as Mark Janes will guide you through that along with Dave First. That's 3:05 Eastern Time, 2:05 Central Time. Let's go to pit lane, though, and check in once again with Rob Howden.
Standing by here with Oliver Askew. In fact, I got in there and was holding on to his water bottle for him. Oliver, pole position, always important. But when it comes off of what happened at St. Petersburg, I think it's a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, definitely. First thing that comes to mind is I just can't thank everyone enough here at Andretti Autosport. We're 1, 2, 3, and I think that says a lot about the team. The car was really good, especially in this tough conditions when the track's super hot. So, yeah, super confident now. It's nice to rebound after St. Pete like that. I was super disappointed and really pissed off. So now I feel better, but the fire's still there.
You know what? You were quick here in the test as well. Can you talk about maybe how the track has changed? You say it's a lot hotter here. Is it tougher to drive?
Yeah, it's definitely tougher to drive. The air was much cooler at the test, and now it's way hotter, and the track temp is way hotter. So you have less grip from the tires, and especially less grip from the downforce. There's less downforce in the car now with hotter air. So yeah, it's really tough to drive through turns 3 and all the way through 8. It's a big rhythm section there, and yeah, super happy.
Well done.
Thank you.
Oliver Askew, guys, the pole sitter today in race number 1 for Indy Lights. Over to Ryan.
And outside of the front row will be Ryan Norman. Solid qualifying effort from you. I saw there was a great deal of celebration as you jumped out of the race car, but then you went to the timing screen to take a look at things. Do you feel like there was any time left out there?
For sure. You know, I made a couple mistakes. I think if I would have done my lap a little earlier on those tires, it probably would have been able to get it. I was on for 5 to match Oliver and made a mistake. So some things to work on for tomorrow for sure for qualifying too. But after a pretty hard St. Pete, I'm really happy to put it on the front row, and hopefully we'll have a good race.
How much does that mean to you to be able to put St. Pete in the rearview mirror, come out, show some speed in practice, and then a lot of speed here in qualifying, of course?
I mean, after St. Pete, just kind of completely reset, went home, and just, you know, got my mind right. And we had a crash in St. Pete, which kind of sent us back a little bit, but it's all mental. So just put it all behind me and going for it this weekend.
Good starting spot for race 1. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right, so it's Oliver Askew, Ryan Norman on the front row for Indy Lights race number 1, coming your way tomorrow at 1:35 Eastern Time, 12:35 Central Time. Up next on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network, though, it is IndyCar practice for the NTT IndyCar Series. Pretty impressive to see Joseph Newgarden back up his win at St. Petersburg with a P1 in practice. We'll see if he can do it again. For Dave First and Ryan Marine and Rob Howden, I'm Nick Yeoman. So long from COTA as Oliver Askew grabs the pole position for race number 1 in Indy Lights. Jumper Paddle Award